Hello, and welcome to the Mississippi Charter School Authorizer Board Prospective Applicant Informational Webinar for the 2019 application cycle. I'm your host, Crystal Cormack, and I'm a former Mississippi Charter School Authorizer Board member and board chair. The purpose of this webinar is to orient you to the process of applying for a charter school during the 2019 cycle. This webinar will provide you with key dates, features, and information that is consistent with the charter school application released by the Authorizer Board. First, let's have an overview of the key players in the application process. First, there's the Mississippi Charter School Authorizer Board, frequently referred to as the MCSAB. This agency is the sole authorizer in the state of Mississippi. There is no other entity in which you can apply for a charter school. Next, there's the Mississippi Education Accelerator, which is commonly referred to just as the Accelerator. They were founded in 2018 and hope to provide expanded opportunities in education and economic development for the state of Mississippi. They are contractors with the Authorizer Board to provide technical assistance to charter school applicants. And finally, there's Mississippi First, a policy nonprofit organization that has worked collaboratively with the legislature, the State Department of Education, and other entities on education policy for the state. They previously provided technical assistance directly to charter school applicants as they had the capacity, but now they provide technical assistance directly to the Charter School Authorizer Board and are focused on policies and procedures and high-quality charter school authorizing. Here's a high-level overview of the current charter school landscape in the state of Mississippi. The charter school enacting legislation was initially passed in 2013 and 2016. Here's a list of the current charter schools which are either operating or approved and soon to operate. In the 2018 cycle, there were 9 applications submitted, and the board approved 2 applications for 3 schools. Now, we'll have a high-level overview of the 2019 application process. Here you can see the key dates for the major stages of the application process. The letter of intent stage happens in March. Stage 1 happens in May. Stage 2 takes place across June and July. And the final stage, stage 3, happens between August and September and concludes when the Charter School Authorizer Board votes at its September meeting. Let's provide some clarification around important terms that are used for the process. When it comes to what we call the LOI, or letter of intent and eligibility demonstration, it's important to understand that this document is a mandatory aspect of applying for a charter school, as well as the eligibility demonstration information. These 2 things must be submitted together in the LOI stage. The terms application, proposal, charter application are often used interchangeably, and they simply refer to the application for the charter school, also known as the RFP. Also, you'll hear the terms capacity interviews or in-person interviews used interchangeably as well. And that's because the capacity interviews are in-person interviews. Members of the team must come and be interviewed live in person in front of the evaluation team. And finally, we want to be clear. The proposal cover sheet for the LOI is not the full application or proposal. The full application proposal has lots of pages and lots of addenda. The LOI cover sheet is about 4 pages and is a much simpler piece of packet to put together. Let's talk a little bit about eligibility, which the deadline is March 5th. There are 3 key pieces of determining eligibility for applying for a charter school in the state of Mississippi. The first key piece of eligibility is proving that you are a nonprofit entity. Only nonprofit organizations can be authorized to have charter schools in the state of Mississippi. If you have not established your nonprofit organization by the letter of intent stage, you should submit to the board that the information that demonstrates that your organization has applied for nonprofit status with the IRS. While the board understands that this process can take months, applicants must demonstrate some proof that they have made efforts to obtain the nonprofit status. Additionally, proof of U.S. citizenship is a key component of eligibility for board members, school staff, and any key staff of any education service provider that the applicant hopes to contract with. These pieces of information must be submitted along with the other documents at the LOI stage. And finally, prospective applicants must indicate exactly where they intend to operate a charter school. This information needs to be provided with a specific school district in mind, not just a city, a county, or a region. And let's talk about that a little bit more. Where exactly can you open a charter school in the state of Mississippi? The charter school law, as well as the revisions that were put into place, are pretty specific about where you can apply for a charter school and what kind of approvals you'll need for each of the various letter accountability grades. For school districts that are rated an A, a B, or a C, applicants have to receive local school board approval before submitting a complete proposal to the MCSAB. Yes, you heard that correctly. Applicants who want to open a charter school in a school district where the school district's rating is A, B, or C, applicants have to get school board approval from that operating school board. However, if the local school district grade is a D or an F, the applicants have authority to complete their proposal and submit it directly to the Mississippi Charter School Authorizer Board. Now let's talk about the various stages of the 2019 process. There are a couple different stages. We want to give you a high-level overview of each of them. First, there's the initial stage in which applicants will provide their letter of intent and eligibility documentation. This is not something that the Charter School Authorizer Board has any flexibility on because these features are specifically outlined in the enabling legislation. Therefore, it's the law. Stage 1, which happens in May, involves a completeness check. Stage 2 is what the board refers to as a threshold quality review. These reviews will be conducted by independent evaluators. And finally, there's stage 3. And stage 3 is a very detailed and in-depth process that includes a very close read of the materials, an interview, as well as a public hearing. Here's the information about the pre-application stage, which we are currently in, which runs through March. The application has been launched by the board, and here we are in the applicant informational webinar. The next piece of this stage is the deadline for the mandatory letter of intent. They must be submitted via the online portal by the date and time specifically listed here. You'll note that the time of when documents are due to be uploaded in the portal has changed from last year. All documents are now due at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. During the week of March 15th, the board will review the packets and issue a determination of eligibility via email. Only applicants that are deemed eligible can continue on to submit a full proposal. After that process has concluded, applicants who are invited to move forward will be invited to another webinar just like this one, where you get more detailed information about the evaluation process, the criteria, and the application. There are 3 specific stages for review of proposals, and they each have a slightly different emphasis. Stage 1 is just a completeness check to make sure that everything that needs to be there is included in the proposal. Stage 2 is a quality threshold review. Independent evaluators are looking at those critical elements and evaluating them against the stage 2 criteria. And this is just a really cursory overview evaluation, but stage 3 is the very in-depth, detail-oriented evaluation. So each stage is slightly different, but an important part of the process. You'll see here that the deadline for complete proposals is listed by the board as May 10th at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Any application or proposals that are incomplete or only partially uploaded will be disqualified at that time. So it's very important to allow yourself plenty of lead time with uploading the documents into the portal. This means that you should already begin writing your proposal now in order to be as prepared as possible for the May 10th final deadline. The initial completeness findings will be distributed May 22nd by the board, and applicants will have until May 24th to remedy anything that is incomplete. Want to be very clear here. This remedy resubmission window is more of a quick fix window and not to be viewed as an extension of the deadline window. So for example, Sometimes when you're uploading documents that have lots and lots of parts, you may accidentally upload the same document twice instead of uploading each document one time. This remedy window is to allow applicants to fix those sort of things. It's not enough time to finish writing any incomplete aspects of your application. So please make sure that your application writing is complete well before the deadline. The final completeness findings will be distributed by the board on June 3rd, and anyone that is not complete will be disqualified at this time. At the stage 2, that is when the board contracts with independent evaluators to look at the various critical elements of each proposal measured against the published evaluation criteria in about 5 to 7 areas. The board will distribute the findings from this stage July 8th. Each proposal must receive a rating of minimally adequate in all of the areas in order to move forward to stage 3. Again, you must receive a minimally adequate in all of the areas in order to move forward to stage 3. And here's the high-level overview of stage 3. You'll see that the majority of the dates happen between July and September. The dates for the capacity interviews are already calendared out, so it would be wise to make sure that you hold those days and ask any members of your team who would be a part of the interviews to hold those dates in advance. Another critical component of stage 3 are the public hearings, where the MCSAB holds these public hearings in the community where the charter school is proposed. They hear from folks in the community, local educators, members of the clergy, community activists, parents, and students about what they think about the proposed charter school application. At each of those public hearings, there is a reporter who is recording verbatim and provides a transcript of the public hearings. All board members receive a transcript of each public hearing to be considered alongside the other application materials. On August 15th, the independent evaluation team will make its recommendation to the board and make those available to applicants for their review. Applicants will have an opportunity to respond to the independent evaluation team's recommendation, and they may at that time decide to provide additional information or correct any factual inaccuracies that they have found in the independent evaluation team's report. Then all of that information is provided to the MCSAB, and they weigh all of the various components together to make a final approval or denial at its September board meeting, which is held on September 9th. Let's take a deep dive into the evaluation criteria. At stage 2, the evaluation is just hoping to decide if proposals meet the minimum quality threshold in order to merit a full review. If a proposal receives no on any rating during the stage 2 evaluation, the proposal will not proceed to a full review. If a proposal receives no substantially inadequate rating, then it will proceed to a full review. Let's take a look at threshold 1, for example. For each piece of the evaluation criteria specifically outlines how a response demonstrates whether it is substantially adequate or substantially inadequate. So looking at public school charter obligations, for example, a response is deemed substantially inadequate if two things happen. One, it's substantially inadequate if it raises significant concerns about the applicant's understanding of, preparation for, or commitment to a non-sectarian operation. Non-sectarian relates to using religious materials or a theology-based curriculum, for example. Additionally, a response is substantially inadequate if it is lacking in or raises significant concerns about an operation that's free of any kinds of prohibited application, admissions, or enrollment policies or practices. On threshold 2, which pertains to student populations, a response would be deemed substantially inadequate if it has any significant concerns about the applicant's preparation for, understanding of, or commitment to meeting needs of special populations, and that includes students with disabilities, students who are English language learners, or students who require remediation, and gifted and talented students. So this just gives you a high-level overview of where you can find the specific information that's required to find out what would be required in order to receive a substantially inadequate rating and move forward in the process. You can see the same detailed information about the substantially inadequate rating for startup plan, personnel, financial plan, performance history, education service provider relationship, and so forth and so on. Let's talk about the evaluation criteria for stage 3. Evaluation at this stage has two pieces. The two parts of this stage include independent evaluation as well as capacity interviews. And an additional component are the public hearings. When it comes to the independent evaluation, teams of individuals look at the proposals independently as well as a team to analyze, norm, and discuss their findings about the proposals based on the written materials in advance of the interviews. During the interviews, applicants have an opportunity to discuss their plan, demonstrate the capacity to maintain a high-quality school, and to answer any specific concerns or questions about their proposal. In the public hearings, the MCSAB presents information about charter schools broadly. The applicant team presents information about their school that is proposed specifically, and then members of the community have an opportunity to ask questions and make comments. So here's a big picture piece of important information. It says a proposal that merits a recommendation for approval should present a clear, realistic picture of how the school expects to operate, be detailed in how the school will raise student achievement, and inspire confidence in the applicant's capacity to successfully implement the proposed academic and operational plans. Now, that's a lot in a single proposal. You have to be clear, realistic, you have to be detailed, inspiring, so many various things in one application. There are many ways to achieve this, but this is the vision. When we think about stage 3 ratings, there are a couple of rating places where an application component can land. First, it falls far below the standard. And this is where responses are undeveloped or significantly incomplete. Does not meet the standards indicates that the response meets the criteria in some ways, but has some substantial gaps. Partially meets the standard suggests that a response meets the criteria in many respects, but lacks detail and or requires additional information. This is why the board recommends that applicant teams work on their proposals far in advance of the proposal, because one of the things that will hold you back from a meets the standard and get you a partially meets the standard is lacking detail. And the thing that is required in order to provide additional detail is time. When a component of the application meets the standard, the board has said, and the evaluation team has decided, that the response reflects a thorough understanding of key issues. It addresses the topic in a specific way with accurate information. It demonstrates thorough preparation, presents a clear, realistic picture, and inspires confidence. Again, that big picture vision. But in order to lay all of that out, applicant teams will need lots of time to build out the details that are both clear, inspiring, and very thorough and accurate. Here's a recommendation when it comes to the comprehensive piece of stage 3. Take a look at pages 57 through 77 of the 2019 RFP. This will help you understand the many bulleted items upon which the independent evaluators will assess and evaluate. This helps applicants have a very clear picture of what moves applications from stage 2 to stage 3. Here, I'm going to show you the online document submission portal, which is called Epicenter. All aspects of the letter of intent, as well as the full proposal, must be submitted through Epicenter. I'm going to pause here, and then when I return, we'll be taking a look at Epicenter online document submission portal. So here on Epicenter, epicenternow.org is the organization that hosts the Mississippi Charter School Authorizers Board document portal. This is the place where you'll submit everything pertaining to your application. When you log in to Epicenter, you'll have the opportunity to see the letter of intent as well as the full RFP. We highly recommend downloading the entire RFP and utilizing the PDF version of that document to review and begin building your RFP. In addition to the RFP, you'll find the letter of intent template. You download the template, which I'm doing here. From there, you're able to open the document enable it for editing in Microsoft Word or similar programs, and from there, you can write or type directly into the document, save the document, and re-upload it in the submission area. This portal is very similar to Blackboard, which is used by many schools and universities that gives you the opportunity to submit things directly through the portal and have confirmation that they've submitted. The LOI should be a fairly straightforward submission. However, the full proposal is a much more complex and complicated uploading process, which can take many, many hours. So we strongly recommend that teams get very comfortable with the portal, practice in the portal, play around in the portal, and begin uploading aspects and pieces of the proposal as soon as they are finalized by the team, so that you are not trying to upload everything right before the deadline. Unfortunately, in the past, teams have gotten stuck in uploading and have had the portal crash, have had internet issues with internet time being much slower than they anticipated. So it's a really good idea to get far in front of that process and begin uploading things super early. Now, let's go back to our presentation where we talk about the letter of intent and the eligibility demonstration. So again, the LOI and the eligibility demonstration must be submitted through Epicenter by 5 p.m. Central Standard Time on March 5th, 2019. This is mandatory. The board does not have any flexibility. If you do not complete the LOI and the eligibility demonstration, you cannot submit a full, complete proposal this cycle, and you'll have to wait until next cycle, unfortunately. The contents include a cover sheet, the letter of intent, articles of incorporation, the 501c3 determination letter from the IRS, proof of citizenship for board members, staff members, school leadership team, and any leaders of the education service provider if you're using one, and any additional requirements pertaining to converting an existing public school into a public charter school. If this is your plan and you intend to convert, we suggest that you reach out to the accelerator to get more specific information about what documentation is required for that process. Here's what you need to know about ongoing support. There will be another webinar hosted by the MCSAB. The letters of intent are due and need to be received by March 5th. And then the next webinar will be released March 26th, which will contain more detailed information about the complete proposal process in anticipation and preparation for the May 10th submission deadline. Here's where you can go should you have questions. The accelerator is your key resource. They will compile all of the questions that all applicants ask and provide public answers so that you can benefit not only from any questions that you ask, but any questions that anyone else has asked as well. Additionally, you can email the Charter School Authorizer Board at the email address here on the screen. But during the application window, the Authorizer Board will not engage with applicants regarding any specifics of the application preparation in fairness to all applicants. Thank you so much for your attention during this webinar. Best of luck to you in preparing to serve Mississippi students, and we hope to be in touch with you with your letter of intent soon. Thank you.